I thought I had a damaged body.
Right.
Because I didn't have boobs and I didn't have stretch marks. And at that age, I probably would have been like, give me the damn stretch marks. Just give me the boobies. Like, that's what I want, you know? But you can always, that's what women will do.
Oh, yeah.
We will always, without a doubt, find something wrong with ourselves. We are the best. We would be the best home inspectors of ourselves. We'll just give you a list of what's wrong. Hello.
We have exciting announcements today. Although you might have already seen it on social. But Mrs. Hosmer has an announcement about
Miss Hosmer.
Miss Hosmer. We're getting a girl.
I'm so excited. So now the the game is tied. There are 2 boys and 2 girls on this pod.
The game is tied. Yes. 2 girls and 2 boys. It's perfect. I also like that we have a switched situation. So like your boy is older and my girl is older. That's how, and I was also thinking about this. It's so funny. I have, my best friends obviously are you, and my best friend from growing up is this girl, Brittany, who I talk about on here often. She has a switch situation. Her oldest, who is 9 days older than Sienna, is a boy. Crazy. And then her youngest is a girl. And then it's going to be the same thing with you and your best friend from growing up, Tyler, right?
She has girl, boy.
Tyler has a girl, and now she's due with a boy.
Her daughter is like 4 months younger than Jack, and her son is due in May. And she's actually being, no. She's being induced April 12th. She's due in May. She's being induced April 12th. So she's already induced. I know.
That's my dad's birthday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So April to October. So a little bit further with our second 2, but.
So we both got so lucky with that. I mean, there really is just something so special about being able to go through pregnancy and
together
motherhood with your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
and
really
I mean,
cool.
you and I got that opportunity with Asher and Jack. And like, it's just when you have somebody there who has supported you in life and so many other things, and then to support you through motherhood, it's really, really something special, because we apparently are not prepared for it enough, which is what we're going to talk about today.
That is a huge thing. And it comes up a lot, especially when planning girls' trips or events, or how consecutive they are or how close together the events are. When you have kids and you don't have kids, the mentality and the ability for you to up and go for fun, exciting things is not the same. And you don't have the same sympathy, empathy, space for moms when you are not a mom. You just don't. You don't. And it's ignorance, but it's
not your fault. There's just no way you could possibly know.
Ignorance.
There's no way you can know.
No. Somebody could tell you until they're blue in the face.
Yes.
But you have no idea until you've crossed over to the other side.
It's the same thing with grief. I've said this until I've blue in the face. I try not to be so hard on people for the way that they react to the things that they say around somebody who is grieving, or in some of my like very difficult times and stuff with my dad, because there's just no way that you can know. Like I had no idea. And I remember feeling like I want to go back and say something to every single person in my life who lost somebody and just apologize for how I may not have been there for them at the extent that I should have, because I didn't understand. And it's the same thing with motherhood. I can't tell you how many women say to me, I was one of the last of my friends to have kids, and I want to go back and say to all of them, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I got mad at you for not coming to happy hour. I'm so sorry I didn't understand, to your point, why you couldn't come on that girls' weekend. I'm so sorry that I didn't get that you couldn't just go out on a Saturday night, like, when we make plans at the last minute. Like, I didn't get it.
I don't know about you, but a big thing for me has been, I just don't feel great about myself. Eric will say, I'll watch Jack. Go ahead, go out, go have fun, go see your friends. But I don't feel great about myself, or I didn't lose that weight, or I just feel bloated today, or my mental space is jacked up. And I don't want to be around hot, skinny friends that are going to take Instagram pictures. I don't want to. I just want to wear a
You know what would be interesting is almost to listen to our first episode of this podcast, because we started in July and it's now, that was July and it's now April. And I bet I sound totally different because I know that I was in a really heavy place when we started, literally and figuratively. I was holding on to a ton of weight and I was holding on to a lot of emotions. And it has taken me, Asher's almost 15 months, and it's taken me 15 solid months to get myself back to a good place. And like you said, it's just like thinking about going into the closet and having to pick an outfit was enough for me to say, I don't want to go to that event.
Okay. You see this rolling rack behind me?
Mm-hmm.
I have about 14,000 rolling racks and like closets stuffed with things because I did Mansion Global when I worked for Fox. So I needed a different dress for every single house, 40 houses a season, 3 seasons, you do the math. And then I need other dresses for like intros and outros. I have a ton of dresses. I've been on TV for 10 years. I like won't let go of things. I am such a hoarder, and it's so hard then, and it's overwhelming to look for clothes when you're between sizes and nothing fits. Okay, let's do what's it called let's do no gatekeeping. So how much weight did you lose, and what do you credit the biggest champion of your weight loss to be?
Okay. So it's
how much did you, let's do this because we didn't do this. How much weight did you gain with each baby? And how much were you holding on to after Asher?
Gosh, I wish I knew you were going to ask this because I would have looked at the exact numbers and really brought the receipts for this. But we did talk about this, I think, in either
we've touched on this a few times.
We talked about this in the bouncing back episode, I think it was. So if you want to scroll back and look at that, I think that was one of our like 3rd or 4th episodes. But with Sienna, I gained like 40, 42. And with Asher, I only gained like maybe 27 pounds, but lost nothing. Like,
did you lose everything between Sienna and Asher? I think so, because I saw you after Sienna. You were so skinny when you came to see me in Coronado. When you were eating Chick-fil-A and like losing weight while you were chewing.
Yeah. I'd say before kids period, I was about 131, 132 was my average. And I knew my body so well to the point where I knew to the pound how much I weighed before stepping on the scale. I'd be like, this morning I'm this. This morning I'm this. Like I could really feel it. And I was comfortable with that weight. I liked the way that I looked. I felt good. I went through a period where I actually gained a lot of weight from going off of birth control and felt awful.
Oh, wow.
So I had to kind of get like comfortable with that again. Then I gained about like 40 pounds with Sienna. What they tell you, you lose 20 pounds and then it takes a little bit for the last 20 to come off. I don't really remember if I had to do anything specific there. I did do like a meal plan. For me, the problem is I just get like, and I don't know if this is just who I am or if this was a product of the pregnancies that I had where I just like vomited and hated food so much that the idea of eating actually made me nauseous. So I wasn't eating.
That's how I am right now.
My body was storing fat, or I wasn't eating until it was too late and I'm grabbing the things that aren't good for you.
This is when you're pregnant or not pregnant?
When I'm not pregnant again.
Yeah.
Okay. Like in the postpartum period.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just not a huge workout person. I'm not a huge exercise person. It's just like not who I am. I'm not one of those people that like,
no, I hate it. I do not get endorphins. I hate sweating. Yes.
So then with Asher, barely gained any weight, but had one hell of a time getting it off to the point where like I lost the 6 pounds of Asher and then that was it. And then actually at my first appointment had gained a pound since having him. But then, so the biggest thing to answer your question that really helped me with that was again, like eating more. Like I lose weight by eating more because I'm eating better and eating the right things and having more protein in my day has been super helpful. That is I could work out until the cows come home. And the biggest thing for me is going to be my eating and making sure I have a balanced diet with protein. I am at a point now where I'm
getting
about
enough protein is hard.
It's very hard.
Okay, you're at 130. Sorry, I just cut you off. Everyone's like, shut up, Kacie.
I know. I'm at 136.
Amazing.
And I'm happy. I'm not trying to lose any more. If I can stay here, I'm happy with that. I say I'm happy.
You're having a cocktail when you want to have a cocktail. You're eating out with your girlfriends when you want to eat out with your girlfriends. Like I think you're like, what are you like 70-30, 80-20? Where are you kind of living in terms of being strict?
Oh gosh. 55, 45. Like I really am letting
you're maintaining,
myself
which is great.
live.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, go ahead and have that thing that you want. Like, oh my gosh, the amount of pastries that we had around here for Easter, and Sienna just like loves making cupcakes.
I just ate chocolate all weekend.
Yeah. But then I'll say to myself, all right, if I'm going to do that, but then just make sure that you have the protein and make sure that you have a balance and make sure you're like actually treating your body well and getting enough water and those types of things. Yeah. I do not restrict myself with anything like that. So here's the thing. I feel comfortable in clothes. I do not feel comfortable in a bathing suit just yet. It's a lot more sagginess than I was used to. And, the bathing suit tops don't offer as much support to these little tatas that are here and have had the life sucked out of them. But I'm okay with that. Like, it's fine because in a bra, they look okay. So I'm not going to go like out of my way to do something crazy just yet. But I feel good.
What would you do? Would you do like a lift or what would you do?
I don't
what would
like
be
the
your
idea.
Ideal mommy makeover? Let's go.
If they could do a lift and take away all of my stretch marks, but I don't want to do an implant. There's so many people doing explants.
I know. I'm thinking about getting mine out. I got mine when I was 19. I have saline, so I'm just kind of like riding it out because I'm like, well, I won't die if they break. But I love them. I mean, listen, you did not know me before.
Prior to them, no.
No. I had no boobs. Literally, like, absolutely, I swear to you, nothing. Like,
really?
Nothing at all. And it was so hard because it made me so self-conscious. I always had a good butt, but it just made me feel weird. Like I did not feel feminine. I never felt like I was feminine enough. So it really did boost my confidence. I remember I came back to school. I was at Tyler's baby shower and I was laughing with the girls because I got them before sophomore year. So everyone knew me already. So I came back and I was like, oh my God, yeah, I went on birth control. And
no, you didn't.
Oh, yes, I
did.
No,
you didn't.
Yes, they were so big. And I was like, I went on birth control. And everyone was just like, okay, you look great. But no, I do want to, and you and I have talked about, what's the girl on the podcast in Austin? Bostic.
Oh, Lauren Bostic.
Yes.
From
she talked
Skinny
about
Confidential.
Getting hers out and the like fat transfer. Now I've heard different things about the fat transfer because I've heard it doesn't last or they don't stay the same.
I don't know too much about it. Is that what it sounds like? They literally take fat from other parts of your body and put it into your boobs? Because that's what is basically wrong with mine right now. I'm like lacking volume. And then because of that, my stretch marks, which by the way, I don't even necessarily attribute to pregnancy. I attribute them to adolescence. So let's talk about that for a second, because adolescence, from becoming a child to an adult, and matrescence is what we're here to talk about today. Which we didn't even say.
We are 12 minutes into this episode. We didn't even say what this episode's about. So this episode is about the art and the transition to becoming a mother.
Changes that really happen to you when becoming a mother. Yes.
Physical, mental, chemical.
I went from, I was like you, I was a late bloomer.
I didn't bloom.
That's true.
No, the blooming never happened. The blooming was medically induced blooming.
I went from an A cup to a C cup in one summer. And I have really intense stretch marks on my butt and my chest because of it, because it was like my skin had no time to expand. It just like, I just became a woman like immediately.
Well, how old were you?
Like 13.
So 14. I have stretch marks like on the side of my legs, but that I think is just from my legs getting bigger the older I had those I had those well before I had Jack.
Right.
I don't care though. Like I don't really look at them and they don't bug me. I don't care.
I think society has done a good job of like bringing them into the forefront a little bit more and being like, this is okay.
Yeah.
But I was using like Strivectin when I was 13 years old to like try to get rid of your stretch marks. It's a stretch mark cream.
And did it work?
When we had Dr. Sadie on here, she was like, there's nothing you can really do for stretch marks except for lasers.
Yeah, you can laser them, I'm sure.
Diminish the appearance of them. But I remember a sweet cousin of mine who's like in her teen years now was like, I just like feel awful because I have these stretch marks. And I was like, sweetie, so do I. And she was like, yeah, but you have had babies. I was like, they're not from the babies.
Yeah.
Like they're from, I was at your age too. You're going through the same. She has, of course, the most like beautiful boobs naturally. But like, that's what it was. Like she bloomed late, like I did. They come on really fast. You get stretch marks. And here she is thinking she has this damaged body and comparing herself to me who's had kids. And I'm like, but mine came from that as well. So
the other side of the coin is I thought I had a damaged body,
right?
Because I didn't have boobs and I didn't have stretch marks. And at that age, I probably would have been like, give me the damn stretch marks. Just give me the boobies. Like that's what I want, you know, but you can always, that's what women will do.
Oh yeah.
We will always, without a doubt, find something wrong with ourselves. We are the best. We would be the best home inspectors of ourselves. We'll just give you a list of what's wrong.
I try to tell myself like this, and this is why I said a few minutes ago, I am happy with where I'm at with my body. I'm happy with my weight. I'm happy with the way I look. I'm happy with the way I feel.
Are you kidding?
You're adorable. Thank you.
She put up this story. I don't know if anybody caught it. This aerial view of her stomach on vacation. And like, it was flatter than this notepad. Like I was like,
it's not flat. It really isn't. It's just, I've just gotten comfortable with this is what it is because I think back to what am I trying to achieve? The way I felt before. Newsflash, I wasn't comfortable before.
Oh my God. I look at pictures of myself when I was at my all-time leanest, working out every day. I was keto. I was like 118. This was in like 2019. And I look back and I'm like, wow, I was comfortable for the first time in my life wearing a 2-piece bathing suit. And like not a high waist, like a 2-piece bathing suit, low waist. And I still wasn't happy with myself. And I look back and I'm like, you have mental issues. That's are things wrong with you.
We're striving for something that, we're striving for something that we never actually had or doesn't actually exist. So yeah, it's definitely hard. But so let's get into this whole topic more of matrescence. So obviously we know what the term adolescence is, right? It's like you just know what that is because it's been so much in our health classes and we were taught it in school. It's not even a new term, but to a lot of us, to 89% of those polled on our social medias, which if you don't follow us, you should on Instagram, it's at MotherUpPod. 89% of our following said that they had never heard of the term matrescence before. And of the 11% that said yes, one was our producer who recommended this episode. So thanks, Katie, for chiming in.
Yeah. Because I didn't know what it was when we were talking about it.
No. So we'll go over the description and everything of that in a minute, or the definition, I should say. But here are some of the other poll questions that we had on social. Did you feel prepared for how motherhood had changed you? Kacie, did you feel prepared?
Hell no.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
I would say I'm the somewhere in between. I am the type of person, when you like watch a movie and then you immediately finish and you have to Google everything about it.
Oh, I do it while I'm watching the movie the whole time.
Or like a documentary or something, you need to know everything. Okay,
yes.
So I'm like that. So I feel I was like a squirrel gathering as much information as I possibly could. I also had a lot of friends that had gone through it before me.
Right. I did not have that.
I felt informed. I just also think there's, like we talked about at the beginning of this episode, there's an entire subset of motherhood. There's just no way you can even explain it to someone. There are no words to explain.
Here's a question. Do you feel like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but do you feel like you hit such a rock bottom emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually when your dad died that you were like, motherhood? It's going to be hard, but like, come on. I built this city back up from the ground. Like, come on.
You were 100% right.
I mean, that's like, I'm getting like sad thinking about it, but it's like, that is, you took a baseball bat to the face and then it was like, okay, I'm ready.
I do feel that I came into it from a very different perspective than a lot of people because this wasn't the worst for me.
Yeah.
These changes, I had already gone through a rigiculous set of changes of emotion and body.
And that was a whatever. Loss. Like, and this is a gain. So it's like
this was, I had gained a lot of weapons to know how to combat those things that were going to happen to me. I had kind of gone through that experience before. And right to your point, like that was for a negative. This was for a positive. I also just felt like there was a lot of emotion wrapped in it too, of like feeling like I was getting some of my dad back, or feeling like I was getting this family unit together again, because I was having my own child, and feeling this like completeness that I had lost after he passed away. So yes, I mean, that's a very good question to ask. And I do think my experience is a little different. So 9% of our following said that, yes, they felt prepared for motherhood, but 59% said no. And 32% said somewhere in between. The next question we put out there was, motherhood changed me more, either physically, mentally, neither, or both. What do you think for you?
Physically, mentally, neither, or both. Definitely both. I mean, 100% both.
That's what I said too.
I mean, physically, like going back to the weight thing, I was 135 before I got pregnant at my wedding, and I thought I was obese. I thought I was huge. I was working all the time, couldn't work out, eating late on the road. Gained 35 pounds with Jack. I was like right around 170 when I had him. Took like 15 off. And I've hovered around like 150, 155 for the last 18 months. And it's not been fun. Like I haven't been confident in how I look. I haven't been confident in my body. Like I've tried to hide it, and you like wear different clothes to hide it. But I just like, we moved around a lot, like it's not anyone's fault. It's just kind of where I was. And I stubbornly wanted to stay stuck in that, like, I'm just going to be miserable. Blah, 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 blah. Like I deserve to be overweight because I'm like not in a good headspace. Does that make sense? But we've talked about that with the routine episode a lot, about you have to pull yourself out of it. And I was out of it. I was working out 3 times a week, 4 times a week right before I got pregnant. And I've just been kind of slapped across the face. This pregnancy, I got sick for like 3 weeks, and now I am having like a hard time with food. We actually were about to jump on this podcast, and I had to delay because I was on with my doctor, because in the first 13 weeks of pregnancy, I have lost 10 pounds, and I'm eating, but I'm getting sick and I can't eat a lot. And Gianna's like, I'm concerned.
I've been a horribly unsupportive friend, because since you going through the miscarriage and now you being super sick with this pregnancy, and they always tell you like the sicker you are, the healthier
like,
the baby is, and the better.
Girl.
So every time she tells me she's like vomiting, I'm like, woohoo! Like I'm over here dancing and so excited because that baby girl is healthy.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, sorry for you, but that's great news for us.
No, but physically and mentally, it does take a toll on yourself. And there is this, for me, there is this, and I don't know if you have it, and I don't know if this sounds weird, but there is this self-sabotaging, self-inflicted pain of me being like, no, you know what? Like you're in a bad place. You don't want to work out. You're unmotivated. You deserve to be overweight. You deserve to not like how you look in the mirror. This is your bed. Lay in it.
You are so hard on yourself.
I'm really hard on myself.
You're really hard on yourself.
But listen, I have therapy. I talk about it. I talk about it. I mean, I talk about it to you. I talk about it to my mom, my sister. I'm aware of it. I'm open with it. I talked to Eric about it. I've never done anything to self-harm. I've never had suicidal. I've never had any thoughts like that. Thank God it's never been anywhere near that point. But like I consider myself a pretty mentally strong person, but like weight has always been something for me that I have control over if I'm heavier. It's like a very weird thing. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I still need to unpack it.
No, yeah. And you've talked about it in other episodes, and I really appreciate you bringing that forward, because I know that I'm sure a lot of our listeners battle that and probably think of it that way too, that you're like, this is my choice to do this. So this is what I'm going to do. And this is how, I'm going to take control of this situation. So it's just so messed up. There can be so many variables to it. But what I think is very interesting here is our following said 40% felt that motherhood changed me more mentally.
Oh, than physically.
Yes. Only 2% said physically, but 57% did say both. Okay. But the fact that 40% said mentally, 40% of our following said that motherhood, which has you gain 40 pounds in 9 months, which has your stomach come out to the point where you can't see your feet, which has stretch marks happen, which has you vomit like crazy, which has you push a bowling ball out of something this big. Mentally is the area where you feel more screwed up. Like, think about that for a second. Of all the changes we go through physically, people are like, no, 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 no. But what it did to me mentally, that I was not prepared for. That I think it has changed me more so. Like,
and also think about mentally, though, not necessarily in a bad way. It could also mean mentally in the sense of like, these things don't matter in my life anymore.
True.
I have better boundaries now. You can't do that around my children, or I won't be in this kind of situation with my babies. So that could also be a positive outcome, because I feel like I've set a lot more boundaries now as a mother. And I know both of us have said certain things do not matter anymore now that we're moms.
Fair. Yes.
So it could have a positive connotation.
Great point. Next one, the physical and mental effects of pregnancy and or motherhood have caused more issues in my life than I expected.
Say that one more time.
The physical and mental effects of pregnancy and or motherhood have caused more issues in my life than I expected. So this is kind of saying like the negative connotation of it. 70% said that was true.
That's a healthy number of people who say it's true.
Yeah. I'd have to say, I don't know if I would say it was more than I expected, but it was definitely just differently than I think I expected. Again, because we say you can't ever fully be prepared for this. But there were definitely...
Well, what is your biggest thing?
The thing I could say 100% was breastfeeding is pushed on the society so hard that the mom should do it. It's the mom's choice. The mom should try harder. The mom should be pumping to help the supply. The mom. My daughter, Sienna, rejected me at like 8 weeks. No one had ever told me that
was on the bingo card.
Not my choice. Because I was like, this is great. It's the middle of COVID. We're working virtually. I had always had this goal in my head. Let me get to at least 6 months. And now I'm like, oh my God, I'm working from home. I could keep this going for a year. This is going to be so great. No. She had different plans. And the fact that it wasn't my choice was mind-blowing to me, because nobody had ever prepared me for that. That was like an entirely different issue than I ever expected to have.
I can understand that. I mean, I stopped pumping at 2 months, right after a month, like somewhere in between there. Because I remember really thrown for a loop. I
remember you were very like open about it, and we talked about breastfeeding like almost every day, and you'd be like, oh, I got this many ounces, and then it kind of like weaned off and we didn't really talk about it. And then like 2 months in or something, I was like, well, like you were saying something else was going on, and I was like, well, how's the breastfeeding going? You're like, oh, I stopped that like a month ago.
Yeah, I felt like a cow. He wasn't latching. And I'm very much like, okay, fine, he's not latching. Okay, next thing. Like, let's move on to the next thing. All right, I'm going to pump. I'm going to do this. Blah, blah, blah. And like, I'd be so tired and I wouldn't want to pump overnight. And it was like starting to affect my supply. And then when I would pump, I'd only get 2 or 3 ounces and I'd feel like a failure. And, you know, Eric would be like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like, this is so great. I'm so proud of you. But I just felt like a failure. And I felt like it was taking a lot of time away from Eric. I felt like it was taking a lot of time away from Jack. And I just was totally thrown for a loop. To your point, you had friends that had been pregnant, had kids. I really didn't. And I didn't know what to do. I was like alone in Boston. You know, my family would come up, but we were kind of secluded. And like, I feel like my sister will be a lot better prepared when she decides to have kids someday, because she was like totally hands-on. But for me, I think my biggest like wild card thing that I didn't think was going to be an issue was feeling so guilty about recovering and not spending enough time with Jack, and having Eric have Jack too much. And I remember I would just be like, do you have Jack too much? Like, am I not doing, like, I had this intense clock, like in my mind, like stopwatch of how long I had Jack during the day. Like, it was awful.
Like, it was hard for you to give yourself the grace to rest.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really common. And I think, again, you're like, well, what do you mean? Why do people say they don't get any sleep? Or why do people say they don't get any rest? Like, just sleep when the baby sleeps, or just have your husband take the baby. Like, it's not a big deal. And then you feel
like a big fat loser when you have dishes in the sink and laundry piled up. And Like, even if Eric was like, oh, did you see my tank top? I'd be like, I know I didn't do the laundry yet. Like, just the littlest thing can trigger you into snowballing into this catastrophic place. That's like, oh no, I was just looking for my shirt. Like, that is the kind of stuff.
Terrorism that you inflict on your own self is so intense. Yes.
I will say, I think this time is going to be better because I am better prepared. I don't
100%. My second comes with its own set of issues, right? Because now you have a second child that you're also quote neglecting. But it was just, I said I went into my second pregnancy. It was like I had actually studied for the exam this time.
Yes, correct.
Like the little things you just
bought
know.
The study
you
guide.
Just have a different confidence in yourself too, I think.
Oh, yeah. I definitely feel that way. Did you wear him more than you wore Sienna? I saw a post today where this woman was like, with my second, I'm going to do things a lot differently. Like, I'm not so focused on like the baby being a good sleeper in a bassinet. Like, I'm just going to wear the baby more. And plus you're like more busy.
So I don't think I wore him as much, but people really scared me into thinking that holding the baby while they're sleeping is going to screw up their sleep schedule.
Yeah.
That they're only going to get used to sleeping in your arms, so that like as soon as the baby fell asleep, you had to put them down and you could never snuggle your own child. So with my second, I was like, I don't care. I am snuggling him. Like I would take him for
he's a snuggle bunny.
Full naps and be like, this is my baby and I'm snuggling him. Like this might be my last one. So I'm taking advantage of this.
Also, I'm totally being the guest that's not staying on topic. So I'm going to let you get back to matrescence.
Okay. Well, this is all part of it. The physical, mental effects of pregnancy and motherhood have lasted way longer than I expected. I could not hit true fast enough.
Yes, true.
On this one. And 83% of our following said that was true for them as well.
And what is expected? Like, what is the medical length of the fourth trimester?
9 months out.
Yeah.
That, it takes 9 months to put the weight on. It's going to take 9 months to get the weight off. And that's not even just a weight thing too, but just 9 months to adjust to this new life and, the lack of independence and catering to another child. 9 months to adjust your relationship to what this means. You introduce a third party into your relationship.
9 months though, isn't like, I didn't have Jack. I feel like I have Jack figured out now. Like at the year mark, at the 18-month mark, I'm like, okay, I've got this kid figured out. I know how he ticks. I know what works for him. 9 months is early to have your kid figured out, I think.
I think there are two things. You both are figuring each other out. So as much as you're figuring him out, he's figuring you out. You're figuring yourself out. He's figuring himself out. There's like four different, it's like that meme of like Spider-Man standing there and like pointing to all the different things. Everybody needs the time. So yes. And that's the whole thing with matrescence is like, you are trying to figure yourself out and this child. That is such a large toll to take on. That's a huge shift in so many different ways to bring on to yourself. And it takes time. I don't know why we don't look at this term matrescence in a higher, like just a higher volume in our world.
Well, you have training courses for birth. You have training courses for labor.
Okay. So let's talk about that for a second. So there is some information that I think is so interesting here. So there's we're going to link to all these articles. There's an article from NPR called The Emotional Rollercoaster of Being a Mom. So this idea of the matrescence really came about in the 70s from this medical anthropologist, Dana Raphael. So she says that we as a culture say a woman has given birth. Or there are some cultures that say a woman has given birth. But we in America emphasize a child is born. That it's this child that just comes out and is here. Instead of this is something that happened to a woman. This is something that a woman has done. This is something that has happened to a woman's body. A woman has given birth. And I think that is so true. Even this whole term of like, we're pregnant. A man is not pregnant. We had our baby. Oh,
that one doesn't bother me. I don't know why that one doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me. It's not that it bothers me. It's just I'm saying that the language of our culture.
Europe does a great job, though. It seems like Europe
pushed that way,
and I want to say like Asian cultures do a really good job of like 40 days you're on your butt, girl.
Yeah.
Like, do not,
but
I don't want to see
there's
you
a whole thing
downstairs.
about like, yeah, there's like the African cultures, the Caribbean cultures. It's a village. The term "it takes a village" is because the villages would actually help, and the villages would
that is
all
another
be there.
American issue. We are so nomadic. We are so FOMO. We are so grass is greener. We are moving all over.
Individualistic culture.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we aren't by our village. We are like, I don't want to go back to where I grew up. I mean, I love Pottsville, but that's not where I want to live the rest of my life. I want something different, and that's okay. But where we are, because of that cultural issue or cultural fact, the village is not around.
So this anthropologist was saying that the emphasis has gotten so shifted onto the child.
Yes.
Which is fair. It's an amazing miracle. But how did that miracle it's not the what's the term I'm looking for with Jesus and Mary?
The Immaculate Conception.
The Immaculate Conception. Thank you. Like, and even
that part of it's not the hard. That part of it's
had to put a lot into it.
The conception part isn't the part that's hard. I mean, it is. Listen, it is hard, but that's like the fun part.
Yes, yes.
There's no pain in that game.
Yeah, I mean, if you're lucky. I mean, and then
I didn't know that
after there's all those things.
But I didn't know after I cranked out Jack that I was not going to be able to sit. I am not exaggerating. Yeah. I was not able to sit down properly for 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yep.
I did not. I was the most ignorant person at the table. No idea.
So that's, I think, part of it, because we're not talking about the woman has given birth. The woman has had this physical and mental change. The woman has been a part of this, as opposed to just saying the baby was born. Like, the baby arrived. Baby's here.
Mom and baby are fine. You know what's okay? Here's something. Before I had a baby, I would text like friends or whoever who had a baby. Hope you're feeling awesome. Like, hope everything's like. Now I say, like, I hope you're feeling okay. I hope you're comfortable. I hope you're getting rest. Like, even that dialogue changes.
Yes. When you understand that aftermath. Yeah.
You understand.
So in this article from NPR, they're saying that there's plenty that you can do to try to make sense of this life stage for yourself, and that there's 5 takeaways that you can try to get your footing in motherhood in this age of matrescence. Now,
you might go down, babe, but you could try like hell to get your footing.
Right. So I laugh a little bit about these because there's so much of it that we're like, okay, sure. It's so easy to say, do X, Y, and Z, but like, how hard is it really? But I don't know. I mean, they do have the point to it. So number 1, let go of expectations. Like, yeah, we all know that.
Did a man write this?
This podcast wouldn't be a thing if we didn't have all these unrealistic expectations on ourselves. But I think that's kind of like comes with time. I think it's also it is just beneficial to kind of like reinforce these things. It's like, how many times do you need to hear it to actually believe it, that you're allowed to let go of the expectations, that you don't need to say to yourself, I should be up at every bottle feed. I should be up at, like, cleaning this, that, and the other thing. I should be hosting this whole dinner for people to come over, even though I just had a newborn. You need to be told that it's okay. And so, as dumb as it sounds, there is such a benefit to just kind of like drilling this into women's minds.
Okay, here's a thought, an illustrated thought. Do you think it would be easier if Susie gets pregnant and she comes to us and she's like, oh my God, I'm pregnant.
Susie, you mentioned Susie in every podcast. I feel like Susie's going to be a third member.
So Susie's pregnant. Her and Jim are going to have a baby. And Susie texts us and she's like, I'm so excited. I'm doing the nursery, blah, blah, blah. Would it be beneficial if we said, Susie, listen, this is one thing that I need you to know postpartum. Old Susie is dead and gone. She's gone. And you are going to redefine who Susie is. And it is going to take a really long time. And that's okay. And you're going to have to ask for help. And you'll sometimes see glimmers of the old Susie and you'll say, there she is. I see you, girl. But she's not going to be there every day. She's not going to be there every minute. And she is different. And she has different boundaries and different expectations and different wants and needs and desires.
So that's a great question. And like, is that why we don't know about matrescence? Because people have tried to tell the Susies and the Susies have shut it down. And like the we have shut it down. Like,
because we just want to pick the nursery colors.
And then people are like, well, I'm never doing that again. So I'm not telling the next person about it. Or I hated that someone did that to me, so I'm not telling them about it. So then all of a sudden, the storyline of matrescence got silenced and nobody said anything. Like, is that what happened? I think there is a very difficult way to do it, because you also hear, how many times do you hear, like, if one more person says to me, oh, enjoy your sleep now.
Yeah. But
right?
there are so many memes that you see online of like, why did you tell me being a parent was so hard? It's like, I'm not going to be the one to tell you. Like, there's so many memes about that. And nobody wants to admit that. But I think there is an air to that. Yeah. Yes, it's hard. One of the biggest things for me, because, and you had kids later in life.
Right. At the ripe age of 30.
Yeah. But seriously.
31. Yeah. I was 31 with you.
I was 32 with Jack. I mourned the death of my independence. Yeah. I was so independent. So I mourned that without knowing I was mourning that.
So I had a different experience because I had something else that took away my independence, and that was called COVID. So I do really feel like I had this strange, like, sweet spot of giving birth, because like, oh, you can't go out anymore. You don't do this. There was nothing else going on.
See, we were in a bubble with the whole baseball team. So I had friends and we were on an island. So it was like we would just go play games at each other's house, board games.
But I think also in this way of like where society is now, mental health is talked about a little bit more. There are podcasts like this where we talk about like heavy things. Women are given the opportunity to talk a little bit more. So maybe that people are listening a little bit more, and maybe they're understanding kind of what you're in for. But I still think there is a broader spectrum in which it can be brought to light. So to bring up some of these other takeaways, they're saying, set up a game plan to ease the pressure. Again, easier said than done. Like you were saying, you know, Jack or Eric was willing to help out. Mark is willing to help out. Yeah. There's such an emphasis about like, oh, your husband, hopefully he's so great and helps. Yeah, but no one told me that I was going to resent my husband for helping. I got so mad at him.
You're doing too many things. Stop doing things.
Being a good father and taking the baby out of my hands. Like no one told me.
Because then you're like, oh my God, he thinks I'm a bad mom because I'm not watching the baby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or I'm just a milk factory. I'm only here to provide milk for her, and then everybody else gets to have her, to snuggle with her and like create a bond with her. And I'm just.
Do you think it's harder because so many dads are work from home now? Like I've also seen so many memes on Instagram where it's like, I just want to be lazy in peace and you won't leave the house yet.
Yes.
So like our moms were home all day. Like,
yeah,
like having nannies wasn't a thing like it is today. You know, with our moms, and our moms were home with us all day. But like, if they had to go like, on the couch for 5 minutes and we were like sharpieing the wall, like they just
then it's multiple kids you got to take care of, because then your husband's home. He's making stuff in the kitchen. He's moving all over the place. That's what I say. I'm like, oh, it would actually be so nice if you went to an office, because then I wouldn't have to like clean up after you all day.
Eric goes down to his man cave, and that's his office. So he's like down in the man cave all day. And he like fasts all day. So he's not ever like in the kitchen. But no, I think that's definitely another added layer of it, is because like you got the boss at home watching over your shoulder, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
another one is.
But to that point, going back to that, make a plan to like ease, you know, the transition. The biggest things for me were like laundry and dishes and food. So those are like the low hanging fruit things that if you can come up with some kind of plan for that, like your mother-in-law is like, I really want to help. Okay, great. Can you come over? Like, I'm going to take a nap, or I'm going to get my nails done, or I'm going to just get out of the house and get lunch with my friends. Can you just do the wash and watch the baby? That would be
my mom moved in for 3 weeks and we called her the food and beverage director. Like she was like, you focus on the baby eating and then I'm going to focus to make sure that you eat, which was so true. You know, I also think it's really nice to have it set that way, because there can be, like I said, like that like jealousy that kind of comes in when someone else has the baby. Or I've heard this recently from some people, and I thought it was very interesting and very on point of the mother to think this way, where friends' moms have been around but taken a step back because they want to give the husband the opportunity to come in. Because I think it is so easy for a mom to be like, oh, I'm going to take care of my daughter and I'm going to take care of my grandchild. But then you're kind of not
becoming
giving
the mom of the house. Yes.
And you're not
you're
giving
the
the partner the confidence that they need to get, to get in there and learn and to do it. That's really the only way that you're going to be able to get that confidence is by learning and by being hands-on. So I thought that was great. But yeah, just having some type of plan, whatever that means. Carving out time to connect with your body again. I do think this is so important. I've had to do this on more of like an emotional level, where I've had to really just have moments where I've sat down and said to myself, like, how unfair am I being to speak to my body this way or to think about my body this way after what it did for me?
Right.
Because it's not just, like we cannot take this for granted. What a freaking miracle this is to get pregnant, to have a healthy baby, to be healthy after having the baby. There are just so many variables that can go wrong in these scenarios that it's so hard not to look at all of the negatives about your body after, but just to really just like take a little bit of time and like be like, I just want to connect with myself. Yeah. So I think that's really important too. And then kind of along that vein, it says recenter your mind to focus on you. Okay.
What did you do to help with that? Like I feel like for the last year, and specifically I would say for the last like 6 months, I have been grasping at anything to get my mental space like back in track and on track. I've done, people aren't going to like me saying this, I've done Reiki, I've done guided meditation, I've done breath work, which was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. But we were out in California at the time where that's like on every street corner. You've got like a health food store, an avocado toast, and then like a Reiki and like crystal store. I'm not good at meditation.
You actually just explained where we lived in Laguna Beach. That's what's there. Yeah.
I think it was close to Laguna where I went. But I've done nervous system reset, which we're going to have Katie Childs on the podcast. I've done like regular therapy. I've done the holistic approach and vitamins and getting my blood panels done. So like I've been grasping at all these things to kind of Eastern medicine myself back to not who I used to be, but to, and I don't know what that is. It's like, okay, if you're saying, Kacie, that old Kacie is dead and gone, what are you running towards? It's like, I don't know, whoever this new calm resting place is of who I am.
Well, I think so much of it too is understanding we haven't really we talked a lot about the psychological stuff, but the physical and hormonal changes, like you're just not going to react the same way to anything really anymore. Like you have to really learn your body and your mind again. So I think taking the time for those things is really important, but just taking the time to say, okay, let me just connect with myself and who I am. So I don't mean this in a negative way, but I think you definitely went to the extreme of some things. But I think that it can be, I don't want listeners to get turned off by that because it can be something so simple. Let me tell you what, listener, you're doing it right now.
Right.
Like if you're listening to this episode, you have already consciously taken an action to say, I want to do something to help myself, whether it's just like listen to these two idiots squirrel for an hour or like feel like I'm sitting here chatting with my girlfriends, or whether it's because I really wanted to learn about matrescence and what I can do to like understand.
What are things that you did for your mental health, do you think, that worked?
I continued therapy. I mean, quite honestly, like this is for my mental health. Like this is so helpful to me to have something that is my own. Like I love my children more than anything, but I knew from day one of like, I'm just not the person that's going to be able to just be fully committed to my children 100%. I need something for me. And
we needed our own corner of the world. However small that is, we need a corner of the world. Yes,
this corner of my master bedroom here that I have turned into this podcast studio. I am grateful that my husband has been supportive of that. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've had family members that haven't been supportive of it and that are like, what are you doing? Like, why don't you, like, you have these beautiful children. Like, why aren't you just focused on them? Why do you feel the need to have something else? Because damn it, I do. Like, I need to have something else. And I haven't felt ashamed of saying that because I think I prepped myself for that from like a very early age. Like in my early 20s, I knew that. And I think I have friends that are kind of like shocked when it gets to that point of like, oh, I'm actually not okay with just being a stay-at-home mom and fully focused on my kids. And I think it's totally fine. I think that they obviously they take so much of you that like you're allowed to have, like you said, this little corner of something that is yours. And honestly, like this is mental health control for me. So thank you to Kacie for being a part of it. Thank you to the listener for letting me be here. I feel like this is like the Truman Show where you all just fake show up and fake download just to make me feel better a little bit.
I don't think that's the case, because we get messages a lot, and I know that's why we do it, is every message we get that says, this is exactly how I was feeling and I didn't know how to articulate it, or this is exactly how I'm feeling and I was afraid to say it and I thought I was the only one in the whole world that was feeling this way, but so many people feel this way and I'm reading the comments and it's making me feel validated. So it's things like that, or I hadn't never thought of it this way. That really helps.
And hopefully, right, just bringing these things to your attention of like, nobody knew what matrescence was. What did we say? It was like 83%, 89% of followers had no idea what this was. Don't you feel like this is something we should know about?
What was the
like
word?
There's a whole
Menarche.
Term.
Menarche is like when you get your first menstrual cycle, and like I didn't know what that was. I had to fill it out on a form at my OB.
A whole scientific term dedicated to the physical, mental, emotional changes that you go through in becoming a mother. And 89% of mothers don't even know that it exists. So with that, before we close out, I do want to tell everybody about, there is this place that we just found. It's called the Matrescence. It's actually a membership community started by two moms that there's message boards, there's emails, there's guides. Like if this is something that's interesting to you, you can go into this membership community. You can even gift it to other moms or other women in your life that you know might be having a hard time. And it is just a very like private, real, raw, vulnerable community of women going through this. So I highly recommend that. We'll put the link out there for it. And then I want to end this episode with something from the Matrescence community, these postpartum affirmations. So Kacie and I are going to read these aloud. And I really want you to think about these. Almost like, should we clip these? I wonder if we should clip these as like a social clip and like have people where they can like, you can pull this up every day and really hear them and listen. So Kacie, do you want to start us off?
I will start us off. You need to read these aloud every day. I will accept the changes in my body.
I will give myself grace because we're both learning.
Rest is not a luxury, but a necessity. I will allow myself to rest.
I believe in my ability to make the best decision for my baby.
In my vulnerability, I find strength.
I am a good mother. I love myself as much as I love my baby.
Those are good. Nice. Those slap.
Those slap. All right. We love you so much. Go on and have a wonderful day.
And you're hot, and we love you.